Hey, Paul, how's it going, man? Type something in the chat. Tell us where you're from. All right, that's funny. He just doesn't get the technology. Yeah, the chat's something that's taken a little bit of getting used to because there's actually a 45-second delay between when I say something and when you hear it. The same thing for the video. So I have to have a way of kind of talking around that. So whenever I ask people to um, type something in the chat, I have to put about 40 seconds worth of filler talk in there until I'll start seeing answers inside the chat box. So that's going to be something that's just a little bit, you got to get used to it a little bit. So not too bad though. Can you guys hear me okay? Cool. I actually have to watch my microphone is right above my keyboard. So as I'm going through the presentation, like you can hear it. So it's pretty crazy. This microphone that I got is really awesome. And if you don't have sound on your iPad, check and make sure that your sound switch is on or that you're not muted. I logged in earlier on my iPad and I was able to get the sound on it. Okay, cool. All right, we're gonna get started in just a second. Hang on. Hang on, you guys are waiting for my wife. It's okay. We don't all pick up on the technology at the same rate. So we're just waiting for Molly to get logged in. And my unborn child. Yes, exactly. Okay, so you guys type in and if you scroll back up to the video portion, how does the picture quality look? Does it look crisp or does it look fuzzy? And my unborn child, yes, exactly. Okay, cool. So we'll get started. So first off, thanks everybody for coming. I know you guys' time is very valuable. So I think we're going to learn some really cool stuff that'll really give you guys a lot to take home and build your businesses with. So first things first is make sure that you join us in the chat. If you scroll down below the video, you'll see the chat box. And down at the bottom right-hand corner of the chat box, you'll see some buttons that are controls. First thing you should do is turn off the chat roll volume. As people come in and out of here, there's going to be popping noises and all that whatnot. And if you hit the mute button there, that'll make sure that you don't hear those pops. It won't turn off my audio. It'll just make sure that there's no extraneous noises. Second thing is the chat box is below the video right now. If you don't like it there, you can pop that chat box out and kind of move it around the screen wherever you like. That's used by hitting that icon right there. The next thing is make sure that you're live. On the bottom of the YouTube video screen, there should be an indicator that says that you're live. If you're not, then go ahead and you may have to refresh the screen and then hit the play button again just to make sure that you're live. And the last thing is share the love. If you have friends on Facebook that you think would benefit greatly from hearing about this particular topic, then go ahead and share it with them. Let them know what's going on, and maybe they get in here and get some value out of it. So why are we here? For punch and pie? It's in the back of the room. But first off, if you are in the right place, if you're an action taker, we are entrepreneurs. We build our business by taking action. We learn new skills, we get new information, and we take action on it. And that's how we build incredible stories and incredible businesses. Also, if you want to give yourself a competitive advantage over 99% of your competition, guarantee that the vast majority of your competitors have never heard what you're about to hear. So if you learn this, you'll give yourself an incredible advantage over the competition. Let's start off with a question. In a typical 8-hour workday, not everybody here probably works 8 hours, entrepreneur lifestyle, but let's say that we work 8 hours. how many of those 8 hours are you able to put yourself in the zone? And by in the zone, I mean that insanely productive state where we're just ripping through our to-do lists and the quality of that work that we're getting done is amazing. So how many hours out of those 8 hours can you put yourself in that place? Go ahead and type it in the chat so we can all see. You know, a good thing to learn is kind of get bearings on where you are. You know, we all need to know what we're particularly good at right now and where we need to make some improvements. So go ahead and type it in the chat and we'll see where everybody stands. I think that's a really helpful exercise. So let's see. Okay, Johnny says 2. Johnny says 2 hours. And Jill says 3. Molly says 8.5. That figures. Angela says 7,500. Wow. Unbelievable. Paul's a little slow. Except on Mondays. Yeah. So, all right. Thank you for participating. Very helpful. So anyways, so now we're looking at, you know, if you ask a lot of people that question, how many hours they can spend in that insanely productive state, the typical answer that you'll get is between 2 and 3 hours a day. Okay. What if we could increase that? What if we could increase the amount of time that you spend in your most productive state? You know, how different would your daily life be? One thing that would happen is you could get more done in less time, and that would free up more of your time to spend with friends and family. You know, more time to go coach your kids' soccer leagues, or spend more time doing homework with your kids. Spend more time going out with friends and family. Take off and go with some friends down to the beach. Make some memories. Also, if you could get more done in less time, you could get more done overall, which means more money in your pocket. And let's not just talk about quantity, but the quality of the work that you get done will be even better. And when our mind is just laser sharp and we are thinking very clearly, that'll allow us to make better products and services. And by making better products and services, we'll be able to build better relationships with our customers. And that's what we really want as entrepreneurs. We want to build really sticky audiences so that they keep coming back and really are waiting on the edge of their seat to see the next product that we have available to give them. You can also be a better leader. A lot of us are managing staff nowadays, whether they're virtual or in person. When your mind is operating at tip-top shape, then your communications will be better. There'll be less miscommunications between you and your staff. So there's less time, clearing the air with everybody. And so everybody will be much more efficient. You'll be able to manage your staff a whole lot better. And as a result, you'll be able to build a much better business. Another thing about managing is being able to trust your own decisions. You know, if you read a book, if you've read the book Virtual Freedom by Chris Ducker, it's a fantastic book. Chris talks about how when you're managing staff, whether they're virtual or whatever, that the first thing that entrepreneurs have to get over is what's called the superhero syndrome. When we build our businesses, they tend to be our babies. And so we think that we could do the best at every task and that nobody else can do as good a job as we can. But in order to scale your business, you have to be able to let go of that and delegate those tasks to your staff and be able to trust that they'll be able to do a good job. It's incredible what you'll learn. It's incredible about how those brain chemicals that we're going to be talking about, like serotonin, when they're low, how little confidence you have. The other thing is when you do delegate these tasks, you have to let them alone and not micromanage your staff. It does absolutely no good to hire staff to help you out if you're constantly hawking over them to watch every little detail that they're doing. So by optimizing brain chemistry, you're going to learn how to let go and stop micromanaging and really focus your efforts where they need to be. You can also improve your learning. Building better businesses always requires us as entrepreneurs to be learning more skills. learning new things, learning more skills, reading books, and absorbing new information as fast as possible. When we put our mind in this very insanely clear and productive state, that will equal better learning. You will be able to increase the speed that you can learn new material. And the growth of our business, the growth of ourselves personally, and the growth of our business depends on our ability to learn new material quickly. We're going to show you how to improve the speed that you learn things. So when you think about all this stuff, the time with your family, the more money overall, increasing your learning, being able to delegate and manage your staff better, how much is all this worth if we could make you better at all these things? Well, let's throw some numbers up real quick. Let's say that currently you typed in the chat and you said you can spend 2 hours a day in the zone. And that just so happens to correlate to you currently make about $100,000 a year. So $100,000 a year by being in the zone for 2 hours a day. What's possible if we increase that 2 hours? If we increased it to 4 hours, if we doubled the amount of time that you are in the most incredibly productive state, could your income double? What if we tripled it? What if we quadrupled it? What if we took the amount of time that you spend in your most productive state and took it from 2 hours all the way up to 8 hours? And even if $400,000, even if that's a bit high, is it a stretch to think that if we could quadruple the amount of time that you spend in your most productive state, is it a stretch that you could double your income or triple your income? We're entrepreneurs. And our growth is really dependent on how creative we are and how productive we are. So this is not a stretch. Also, how much is extra time with your family and friends worth? You can't really put a price tag on it. That's why we talk about being in the zone, spending more time in your most productive state. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about how to control your levels of energy, focus, and productivity. We're going to learn where those things come from and how to create them. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to learn a little bit of brain chemistry. We're going to talk about brain chemicals like serotonin, dopamine, adrenaline, and endorphins, because these are the key players in us learning how to control our levels of productivity. We're also going to learn how pharmaceutical companies are using these exact same concepts right now to develop some of their most popular drugs, like Prozac and Zoloft and other antidepressant drugs out there. These drugs are designed by using these exact concepts that you're about to learn right now. And at the end, we're going to talk about the Productivity Masterclass, which is our online video course. This is not going to be a sales seminar. This is going to be an educational seminar. We're going to teach you exactly what controls your levels of productivity, how to do it, how it gets sabotaged, and how to avoid it. We're going to teach you all of that. But at the very end, we're going to talk about this online course that really we make it very easy for you. Really what we're going to learn is how to take the restrictor plate off of your brain. There is a physiological limit, a barrier to you taking your mental capabilities up through the roof. There is something that is holding you back from really pushing your mental capabilities up as high as possible. And we're going to learn how to take that restrictor plate off of your brain. But keep that on the down low. It's not exactly street legal. So who am I? My name is Carl Piltz, and I'm the founder of nutritiontotheedge.com. And this is my beautiful wife, Molly. You see a little baby bump there. We're expecting in July. We're very excited about that. I grew up in Akron, Ohio. This is me in college. And my original background was in electrical engineering. But if you look at me back in college, I was not overweight. I wasn't, ripped or anything like that through college, but I was always, built well and never really had to manage my weight all that much. So if you pay attention to, look at the shape of my face, and over the next couple of pictures, you're going to be able to see what happened. Whoops. Thought I took that one out of there. Well, as you can see, I'm always friendly to the environment. So anyways, here's one of the first years that I, got out of college and I took a corporate job where I was traveling a lot. And as you can see, my face is starting to round out. When you take a corporate traveling job and a lot of your business is taking customers out to dinner and taking them out for drinks and going to trade shows and staying out until all hours of the night, getting crappy sleep and then getting up and doing it all over again, your body starts to change. If you look at this picture, you can see my neck is starting to fill out. My face is starting to round out and my neck is starting to look a little portly. This is all because of this corporate job. Man, if my cousin Leah knew I was using this picture, she would kill me. So this is the piece de resistance. This is me at my heaviest. This was me, I'm 5'9", and I was 226 pounds at my heaviest. Look at my gut. I mean, looking back, that's pretty impressive. That is a gorgeous looking gut. But this is what happened. This was this was at the point where I looked at myself and I was like, this has to change. This is not healthy. I don't look good. I've got to do something about that. And it wasn't just the weight. Weight was never really my focus. The problem was, back when I was younger, I was always a nervous and anxious kind of kid. But when I got up to this point, it started getting worse. I really got into really bad bouts of depression. I tended to get really down on myself, just about how my life was going. My anxiety really took off, and it really made it difficult to, build up my social life when you're so anxious about everything. Nervousness, everything about, when I was making presentations in front of my boss and their bosses at work, I was so nervous that it was hard to control how, the presentation went. And it made things not go as well as they could. And, when you're in this type of state, when these are the feelings that you're really going through, life is really tough. Building up your social network and your professional network and trying to keep your life on schedule, that's really tough. And some of the worst parts was I couldn't concentrate. A lot of times I would try to be focused on work and I just couldn't concentrate. There seemed to be a 30-minute limit on the amount of time that I could focus on any one thing. So if I was reading a book, I would read for about 30 minutes and then I would have to take a break because my mind was just so tired and I couldn't focus. I had to take a break for 30 minutes and then come back to reading if I ever did. And I really had no energy. I wanted to go out. I wanted to lose the weight. I wanted to get back down to where I was before. And I just had zero energy. So it was really difficult to get anything going. And the worst part was my job. My productivity was sinking. I couldn't get anything done. I couldn't focus. My presentations weren't as good as they should have been. And it was really getting to the point where I was fearing for my job because I knew I knew that I wasn't going to progress, up the corporate ladder as well as I should because I couldn't control how productive I was and how together I was. That's what really scared me. So I decided to do something about it. And now this is me. I tend to sit in the low 170 pounds. That's where I tend to feel the best. So looking back, it's pretty crazy how big I was. But this is what I did now. And the way that I did it was I started learning about nutrition. I ended up going back to school to the Institute for Integrated Nutrition and learning everything that I could. A lot of it was about weight, but the thing that interested me the most was how I started to notice that nutrition played a huge role in how I felt. And all of a sudden I saw my presentations getting better and me being able to fly through books quicker. And I was getting more and more productive. And that's what really interested me. Being an entrepreneur, I was always in my head an entrepreneur. It was just a matter of putting together the right business. And I knew that if I wanted to come home after work and really get something accomplished, I had to be supremely productive. And as I got healthier, this started happening. So that's where I decided to put my focus, was on the mental aspect. So that's where I started doing all kinds of research. Now, what did I learn about that? I learned that the key to success in optimizing your mental capability is in understanding our brain. More specifically, understanding the brain chemicals that our body manufactures and that control certain aspects of our mental performance. So let's talk about them a little bit. The first question that we need to address is, what is a neurotransmitter? A neurotransmitter, very simply, is a brain chemical. It's a brain chemical that makes our neurons talk to each other. You know, our brain is basically a big electrical web with electric signals firing from one neuron to the other. And what neurotransmitters do is they allow those electrical signals to go from one neuron to the other. So that's what really allows your brain to start firing all over the place. And we don't have to get too technical, but really what you have to know is that more neurotransmitters means more brain activity, and that translates to better thinking, more energy, more focus, more productivity. This is the basis for what we're going to learn. So let's talk about some of these neurotransmitters. The first neurotransmitter that we're going to learn about is serotonin. Serotonin is our natural antidepressant. When our serotonin is high, we feel calm, we feel confident, optimistic. When our serotonin is optimized, we really feel ready to take on anything. The next neurotransmitters it's a group of them, and they're made up with adrenaline, noradrenaline, and dopamine. This is a group of brain chemicals known as catecholamines. And these are action and focus brain chemicals. When these brain chemicals are high, we have all the mental energy and focus that we need to get anything done. This is really a key group of brain chemicals. Mental energy has very little to do with anything else except for these brain chemicals. And the third group is endorphins. We've all heard about endorphins. You know, chocolate raises them, so does having sex and all that. But endorphins are our pleasure and reward brain chemicals. When they're high, you know, that's how we feel exhilarated, and when we feel really just good, when we enjoy things. When our endorphins are high, that's the main key, is that we can enjoy life when our endorphins are at a proper level. These brain chemicals are the key to understanding how to control our levels of productivity, how to put ourselves in the zone more often and for longer periods of time. These are the brain chemicals that control it. So we're going to learn about how they work. So how are these neurotransmitters made? Well, they're made from amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. So let's talk about a piece of protein. Okay, so this chain together, this is like chicken or beef. And that protein is a chain of amino acids strung together. So this chain is made up of, you know, the one is tryptophan, there's glutamine, alanine, leucine, lysine. These are all amino acids, and you chain them together and they make up a protein. So what happens when we eat like beef or chicken? Well, we eat that protein and it goes in our stomach, and during digestion, it's broken up into individual amino acids. And after they're digested, they go into our bloodstream and start circulating throughout our body. And they do all kinds of things. They're responsible for making blood, making muscle, all kinds of other things. But one key function that they play is going up to our brain and making neurotransmitters. So which amino acids are we concerned about? Which ones control, which ones make those brain chemicals that we talked about? Well, tryptophan, the amino acid tryptophan, will combine with vitamins to make serotonin. And that's our optimism and confidence brain chemical. Serotonin comes from the combination of tryptophan and vitamins. Tyrosine is another amino acid that combines with vitamins, and it makes adrenaline, noradrenaline, and dopamine. These are our focus and action brain chemicals. Phenylalanine is another amino acid, which when that combines with vitamins, that's what makes our endorphins. Endorphins actually come from these proteins when they get digested. That's the building block of endorphins. So when we're eating right, we're getting all of these brain chemicals that are supposed to make us feel fantastic. How powerful are these brain chemicals? Well, they're powerful enough that pharmaceutical companies invest billions of dollars every year into understanding these brain chemicals. Antidepressant drugs work. They work their magic by using the concepts of how these brain chemicals are manufactured and circulated. So let's talk about how antidepressants work for a minute. Antidepressants are separated into types, and the first type is the most popular. They're called SSRIs, or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. And what these drugs do is they keep the serotonin circulating in your brain longer. And we'll talk more about that in a second. But some of the antidepressants that fall into this category are Prozac, Zoloft, Luvox, Paxil, Lexapro, and Celexa. The next group are called SNRI drugs, or serotonin and norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors. These drugs keep serotonin and norepinephrine active and circulating longer. Some of the drugs that fall into this category are Effexor, Pristiq, and Cymbalta. MAOIs were the first group of antidepressants that came out on the market. And MAOIs are, monoamine oxidase is an enzyme. It's an enzyme that makes these brain chemicals go dormant. We're going to talk more about this in a second, but these brain chemicals are made, they circulate for a while, and then they go dormant. And the reason they go dormant is because monoamine oxidase, this enzyme, makes them go dormant. So these drugs simply inhibit that enzyme. So in essence, they do the same thing. They keep serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine active and circulating longer. Some of the antidepressants in this category are Marplan, Nardil, Emsem, and Parnate. And MAOIs have pretty much been phased out in favor of SSRIs and SNRIs. There's another group called SDRIs, which are selective dopamine reuptake inhibitors. So all these drugs work by manipulating some of these brain chemicals. When you look at these brain chemicals, what do they all do? They all keep the brain chemicals that you have active and circulating longer. But when you look at this, what do these drugs not do? These drugs do not make your body make more of them. They simply keep the brain chemicals that you already have active and circulating longer. So let's see this a little bit. Here's your brain, and what happens, that the way that these brain chemicals are made is, we talked about this, you eat some protein, chicken, fish, beef, whatever, and that protein is digested, broken down into amino acids, and some of those amino acids go up to your brain, combined with vitamins to create these brain chemicals like serotonin here. And the brain chemicals will circulate around your brain for a period of time, and then they'll go dormant in a process called reuptake. Well, antidepressants are reuptake inhibitors. So they inhibit the reuptake. So they just block the process of going dormant. Okay? So that's all antidepressants do, is keep the brain chemicals that you already have active longer. They do not make you make more of them. Now, let's talk about kind of the state of the union, where everybody tends to be. The vast majority of the population out there, this is their situation. Depleted brain chemistry. The way that our diet and lifestyle choices are, the place that they're putting us in is a position of severely depleted brain chemistry. And we'll go over how, what kind of dietary choices that we can make that completely sabotage our brain chemicals and take them down to this type of low point. But this is how the vast majority of people are standing as of right now. Now think about this for a second, because this is important. Antidepressant drugs are, I think, the second most popular drug on the market right now. Right now, last year, 1 in 10 Americans took antidepressants. If you're a woman between the ages of 40 and 50, the number is 1 in 4. So, and the reason they've become so popular is because of how powerful an effect they cause on how you feel. When you take antidepressants, they can take a very depressed person and make them feel fantastic. And yet all they're doing is keeping the few brain chemicals that those people have circulating longer. It doesn't take a huge change in the amount of these brain chemicals to cause an incredible change in how you feel. And that's why antidepressant drugs have become so popular, because these brain chemicals are so powerful. One little tweak, and you instantly feel a whole lot better. Another instance of how powerful these brain chemicals are is when you study eating disorders. There's a great book out there called The Diet Cure by Julia Ross. And she talks about how when serotonin in particular is very low, that's a big cause of eating disorders, anorexia and bulimia. When serotonin especially, serotonin is our confidence hormone, is our confidence brain chemical. And when serotonin is very, very low, then it can literally warp the image that you see in the mirror. So, when you think about how eating disorders progress, how does it work? Usually somebody wants to lose weight. They look in the mirror and they say, I'm overweight. So they want to lose weight. So they stop eating. A lot of people just do that by starving themselves. Well, by not eating, a lot of the foods that they tend to stop eating are the proteins, red meat especially. But chicken, they tend to eat smaller portions and they tend to eat specifically less protein because it tends to have more fat, and people think that fat makes you fat. So by doing that, you are causing a big reduction in the amount of protein coming in, and therefore the amino acids that are coming in. So the building blocks of the brain chemicals, you are reducing their influx. So people will starve themselves, and then at some point they will give out, and then they'll go binge. But they tend to binge on foods that sabotage our brain chemistry. Because when you binge, you go to soda and you go to cookies and you go to muffins and all that, and you start ripping into all these sugary foods. And we're going to learn in a bit how badly sugar sabotages your brain chemistry. It kills these brain chemicals. And so not only are you reducing the amount of amino acids coming in to build them, but now you're destroying the ones that you have. And when you do that for weeks and weeks and months, now your brain chemicals are so depleted that it can warp the vision that you see, the image that you see in the mirror. You look in the mirror, no matter how skinny you are, what you see with your own two eyes is fat. And nobody else can tell you otherwise, because this is what you see with your own two eyes. That's how powerful these brain chemicals are. When they get that low, they can change what you see. Also, when we talk about food addiction, talk about drug addiction first. The reason that drugs like cocaine and heroin are so addictive is because they jack your dopamine through the roof. That's what makes them so addictive. And when you constantly jack your dopamine through the roof to dangerously high levels, it shuts out body's natural production of them. And so when you go off of these drugs, your levels of dopamine, your reward brain chemical, plummet. And when your dopamine is so low, your sense of reward is so low, then life, and you can't make more of it naturally, then life is not worth living. That's why those drugs are so addictive. The same thing happens with food. It turns out that sugar, there's all kinds of studies that are starting to say that sugar is as addictive or more addictive than cocaine. That may be a little bit extreme, but just putting those two substances in the same sentence is powerful, because sugar does the exact same thing. It jacks up your dopamine, and that's what makes those sugary foods so addictive. So I'm telling you all this because this is how powerful these brain chemicals are. When they're low, it can be dangerous. But when we do a little bit of tweak, it causes an incredible effect on how you feel. So going back to this, if so many people are receiving massive benefits by just tweaking a few brain chemicals, how powerful would it be if we could learn how to make more of them? The answer is that it is insanely powerful. This is the key to controlling our productivity and taking our productivity and our time in the zone through the roof. So when you talk about all this, can get really confusing when you talk about all the brain chemicals and the amino acids and all that. All you really need to know is that all meat and dairy protein contains all of the important amino acids that you need to manufacture these important brain chemicals. Now, grains and veggies contain different combinations, not all of them. So what this means is if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, you have to do some homework in combining your foods correctly to get all of the amino acids that you need. But the thing is, the take home is, if you eat enough protein and vitamins, because you need both, but if you eat enough of those, you will get the necessary amino acids to make the important brain chemicals. So, you can ask yourself, that's it? Just eat more protein and I get the brain chemicals? That sounds pretty easy. There is a catch. And that catch is if we eat sugar and white carbohydrates. if we do that, we sabotage our brain chemistry. And take a look at how. When we eat sugar and white carbohydrates, these foods have basically no fiber in them. And so all these carbs will go into our stomach, they'll get digested, and they get digested very quickly because there's no fiber. And so all this sugar, all these carbs will get dumped basically into our bloodstream. And so that causes a blood sugar spike. Well, your pancreas's job is to maintain your blood sugar level in a healthy range. And if all of a sudden there is a huge spike in your blood sugar, your pancreas needs to take care of it. And it does that by releasing insulin. Insulin comes out to remove the extra sugar from your blood to bring your blood sugar level back down to the normal range. But when your pancreas sees a blood sugar spike, it removes too much sugar, causing a blood sugar crash, and this also destroys the manufacturing of these brain chemicals. As insulin is removing the extra sugar from your blood, it is also taking amino acids away from your brain. And the result is that no brain chemicals can be formed. Let's see this a different way. So here's a graph, and the bottom axis is time. The vertical axis is your blood sugar level. And in between these green dotted lines, this is the healthy blood sugar range. This is the blood sugar range that your body wants your blood sugar to stay in. So here's your blood sugar from a previous meal coming down. And so we're getting hungry. So let's say we eat a sugary meal. Well, because sugar and white carbs have no fiber, they get digested very quickly. And so our blood sugar will spike. Our pancreas sees this and takes corrective action. And it releases insulin to remove the excess sugar from our bloodstream, dump it into our cells. Coincidentally, it puts it in our fat cells. And this is the #1 reason for weight loss or for weight gain. But your pancreas releases insulin to remove the extra sugar from your blood. And a lot of times your pancreas will overestimate how much insulin to release, and it will remove too much blood sugar. But the kicker for our productivity and the amount of time that we spend in the zone, when our blood sugar crashes because insulin is removing all that sugar from your blood, insulin is also taking amino acids with it. So a lot of these amino acids are traveling up to your brain. They're waiting at your brain to get in. And if there's a blood sugar spike, that insulin will swipe those amino acids away from your brain, so none of them will get into your brain. And so no brain chemicals can be made because the raw materials are gone. And as a result, we feel tired, unmotivated, depressed, negative, really just unproductive. And so when we're constantly spiking our blood sugar like this is what makes being able to control your levels of productivity so difficult and so unpredictable. So what do we do? Well, the first thing is eat enough protein. Protein contains those amino acids that build these brain chemicals. And we should be shooting for between 20 and 40 grams of protein per meal, depending on our bodies. You know, if you're a man or a woman, if you're big or you're small. You know, small women probably are okay with between 20 and 30 grams of protein. Big men need at least 40 grams of protein per meal. And just as a note, in 7 grams of basically any meat, pork, chicken, steak, whatever, in 7 ounces of meat, there's 39 grams of protein. So that's what you should be shooting for at each meal. The second thing is eat whole grains and vegetables. Do not eat sugar and white carbohydrates. Whole grains and vegetables contain a lot of fiber. And so they slow the digestion of the carbs in your digestive system. And when the carbs digest slowly, and get kind of like an IV drip of carbs into your bloodstream, then there is no blood sugar spike. And so there is no insulin coming out to remove it. And so the amino acids are allowed to stay and get into your brain and make the brain chemicals. And the third thing is to add healthy fats. Healthy fats slow our digestion. So they kind of stretch out. When you eat protein, eating fat along with it will kind of make them get digested slower and kind of gives an IV drip of those amino acids. So you have a long sustained supply of these brain chemicals. Okay, it's very, very important. So that's basically what we do. This blood sugar spiking, the blood sugar spikes and the insulin spikes and all this stuff that we just talked about, This is the number one cause of issues with energy, productivity, and focus. This is the number one reason why you think that it's that it's almost impossible to control when we are in the zone. If you listen to a lot of podcasts, everybody talks about how when you are in the zone, you need to protect it, block everything else out, because when you're in the zone, you're not always there, and it's so valuable. So you need to protect when we're there, when we're in there. This is the number one reason why we can't spend as much time in the zone, in our most productive state, as we'd like. So correcting this and avoiding this is the secret to unleashing our highest levels of mental performance. Pharmaceuticals are using these concepts. They're using it to develop their drugs because they know how powerful these brain chemicals are. We can use these concepts too. And when we do, that's when we really start realizing our full potential. Just by doing this, you'll be light years ahead of where you are right now. So if all you do is make sure that you get enough protein and vitamins and avoid sugar and white carbohydrates, you'll be much farther ahead in terms of how productive you are than you are right now. If you don't do this, then you will never fully realize the benefits that we were talking about earlier. You will never be able to take that restrictor plate off of your brain and fully realize how productive and how creative and how well you can learn, how much you're able to do that. You will never realize your full potential. You won't get more done in less time, so you won't get as much time as possible with your friends and family. You won't be able to generate as much revenue as is possible. The quality of your work will suffer. When our brain is foggy and when we're tired, our products and services are not as good. And if our products and services are not as good, that is unacceptable to us as entrepreneurs, because we need to build quality stuff to keep our customers coming back to us. We won't be as good a leader. If our brain is foggy and our communications aren't good, we will spend so much unnecessary time recommunicating with our staff to get things straight. We won't be able to build as good of a business. And we won't be able to get over superhero syndrome and micromanaging. When our brain chemicals are destroyed, when our brain chemicals are very low, then we will be dealing with superhero syndrome, feeling like we have to do everything. And if we do hire it out, we'll be micromanaging because we can't trust our own decisions. And our learning speed will be slow. When you can't focus, you can't read books as fast. You can't learn new material. You can only focus for a certain period of time. Watching lectures and all this stuff, when we go to classes, if you don't fix this problem, you will never be able to learn and absorb as much material as if you got this handled. So don't let this happen to you. Take care of this one problem. Eat enough protein, eat enough vitamins, and stay away from sugar and white carbohydrates, and you will be light years ahead of your competition. Do that, and you will start to realize all those benefits: the extra time, the extra money, the quality, the leadership, all that stuff. Just clearing up this one problem, and you will be awesome at all of that. This is the number one factor. This is the number one reason that people can't control their levels of productivity, but it's not the only factor. So if you want to completely control it, if you want to completely control how productive, how focused, how energetic you are, and really push your time in the zone as high as possible, and if you are an action taker, then you need the Productivity Masterclass. That is the online course that we offer on this website. The Productivity Masterclass is an online video course, and it is full of video tutorials teaching you how your body works, how your brain works, all this stuff, and really gives you a really good step-by-step for understanding how your productivity levels are controlled. There's video tutorials on other diet and lifestyle choices. You know, the blood sugar thing is the number one, but there are lots of other diet and lifestyle choices. And if you really want to have solid control on all of them, then you need to understand them so that you can take corrective action when some of them present themselves. There's also life events that affect it. As we go through life, we go through different stages, and we have certain life events that will kind of add something else to the equation. And so we need to learn about them so that we can take corrective action. There's videos that show you this. There's videos that show you how to troubleshoot. You're always going to stray off the correct path. What's important is to be able to troubleshoot your own body so that you know what to do, how to get back on the right track. There's also video tutorials showing how to do things like read labels, videos that will show you how to make smart choices. This helps when you go out to eat to dinner, or you're in the supermarket. Being able to read labels and basically just understand the construction of food will help you make the right choices. There's also videos that give you a strategy for success. You know, failing to plan is planning to fail. And so we give you a strategy to succeed. There's also a bonus set of tutorials that teach you how your hunger and appetite work. Everything when it comes to weight loss and any type of dietary endeavor that you go on, the success will always depend on how well that program takes care of your appetite. If you're always hungry, I don't care what diet you're on. If you are always hungry, then that diet will fail, because the hormones that control your appetite are much stronger than your willpower. So we teach you how those hormones work and how your appetite is controlled so that you never feel hungry. There's also a ton of resources in the members area. The first one is a productivity action plan, where we lay out a plan for you to start implementing these steps into your life so that you can begin getting your levels, your time in the zone, being able to push that as high as possible. There's also all kinds of meal plans and shopping lists and cooking videos. If you're not a gourmet cook, don't worry about it. There's a ton of videos that show how quick it can be and how to do it. There's all kinds of recipes in here, over 80 recipes in all. All the recipes that you need, they're delicious, and they're the type of meals that will really set your productivity, energy, and focus on the right path. They will get that kicked up as high as possible. There's also 32 snack recipes that require zero cooking, and these snacks are productivity snacks. So we have 32 of them for you. There's also a module on how to add exercise. Exercise is optional, but it's highly encouraged. But when you first start off, if you're a very busy person and you don't have time to add exercise, don't worry about it right up front. The way it's going to go is, as you start increasing your mental capabilities, as you start thinking clearly and getting more things done, what's going to happen is you're going to feel fantastic, but you'll also get more done. So you'll have more time in the day that just kind of magically appears. So that's when you can start delegating exercise. The time will appear. Just trust that. And if you don't have time for it now, add it later. Also, when you sign up today, there's free lifetime updates. We're going to be constantly adding more and more material to this course, and you'll get access to all of it for your life. Also, when you sign up for the VIP package, you'll have access to live monthly Q&A webinars with me. We'll get on once a month. I will ask you in advance for your questions. And so we'll sit there for a while and answer any questions that you guys all have. We'll do that once a month, sometimes more if we feel like it. There's also going to be a private Facebook group that you'll get access to. The Facebook group will give you access to an accelerated learning environment. If you go to a mastermind, that's what this does. A lot of people with a common goal sitting in the same room, helping each other. And that's what the private Facebook group will do. With the VIP package, you get invited to the private Facebook group. Also, in the private Facebook group, we're going to assign you an accountability partner. It always helps when whoever you live with, whether it's your spouse or roommates or family or whatever, it always helps if your spouse is supportive of what you're doing when you take on a dietary endeavor. but that's not always the case. So we're going for everybody, we're going to set them up with an accountability partner. It's going to be somebody who is there to support you, that you can tell them what types of problems that you're having, and they can help you get back on track when you kind of stray off, which is going to happen. So we're going to give you a partner. Other benefits when you take this course, it's not too far-fetched when you start a diet that's good for your brain, that it's also good for your body. And that's the case here. That blood sugar spiking and crashing, like we talked about earlier, that is the #1 reason for weight gain. When insulin comes out and removes the extra sugar from your blood, it removes the sugar from your blood and dumps it into your fat cells and creates more fat cells. That is the biggest reason for weight gain. So avoiding that will allow you to lose weight without exercise. It will just happen naturally. Another benefit is that you'll be able to sleep better. Melatonin is the hormone that's responsible for putting us into the deep phases of sleep. And melatonin is made the same way that serotonin is. It's made from tryptophan, the amino acid. So eating a diet that produces a lot of serotonin will also produce a lot of melatonin. So you will sleep much better. That's a fantastic bonus. So now that you've seen everything that's in the Productivity Masterclass, I want to tell you 3 things. The first is that the price of the course will be going up. At some point, we're going to be keeping on adding things to the course. There'll be more material added, more value. The Facebook group will constantly be growing, and answers will be floating around there all the time, more and more. So the price at some point will be going up. And for that same reason, this course will never be offered at a lower price than what you're going to get it for today. The third is that your investment today is risk-free, 100% for 60 days. If you get into the course and you get into the Facebook page and you look through all the resources and you decide that this just isn't for you, or if you start implementing these things, implementing these strategies, and it just isn't working for some reason, then for 60 days, you have the ability to return the course. No questions asked. Just send us an email and we will refund your money. No questions asked. So it's absolutely risk-free. So let's talk about what's in the course and give you a little bit of a price breakdown. You know, there's 7 video tutorials in there. I can charge $47 for these. That's $329 right there. The resources, I tell you, 40 hours of your time is not a stretch to figure all this out. And if you're making $100,000 a year, that's $50 an hour. That's $2,000 worth of your time, having all these resources assembled for you. The monthly Q&A webinars, my hourly rate is $1,200. So if we do this once or twice a month, that's $1,200 to $2,400 a month that you're getting in value. And the Facebook community is priceless. Being able to ask questions, I'll be in there all the time answering questions, and so will your colleagues. That is absolutely priceless. And it really will accelerate your learning and accelerate your pace of achieving the ultimate control of your productivity. So all in all, that's $4,729. But really, the big value for you is this. If we can take the amount of time that you spend in your most productive state from 2 hours to 8 hours, what is going to happen to your income? When you're making better products and services, and you're making more of those better products and services, and you're directing your staff better, and you're learning new material more, if you're doing that for 4 times more time than you are right now, what is going to happen to your income? It is going to go up, and it's going to go up big. So the cost of the Productivity Masterclass is $397, and that comes with the 60-day money-back guarantee. But since you're still here, and we're going on an hour here, since you're still here, I can tell that this is really important to you, and you're really interested. So I want to make it easy. I'm going to give you $100 off. The button down below this video is for $297. And as long as we are on this webinar right now, that is the price that you will get. And that includes everything that we are talking about today. All the tutorials, all the resources, all the meal plans, shopping lists, cooking videos, all the monthly Q&A webinars, the private Facebook Facebook page, the accountability partner, all that is yours for $297. And that comes with the full 60-day money-back guarantee. And that is good until I close the window on this webinar. The first thing I'm going to do when I close this webinar is change the price back up to $397. I'm going to stick around for a while and answer questions at the end of this webinar, so there'll be more time. But as soon as I close the webinar down, the price will go back up. So if you want to join the Productivity Masterclass and really see how easy it is to really take your productivity and your time in the zone through the roof, then click the button below and join us. It's an awesome time. And like Karen Solomonson said in her book, Ballsy, shake it to make it. So join now. Okay, I'm happy to see you. So let's talk about some questions. Who has questions?